Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. How are you guys? How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's so good to see everybody. We have Calvin, NGC, Russell, Miss Kimberly, that sassy girl.
Yes, today was going to be just a work on the garden day, and I don't know. Somehow we got sidelined. We had a few clients, and then we had rescheduling that had to be done.
So much. You ready? Watch your ears. Roar!
There you go.
Did it.
Sounding fierce out there.
Uh-huh.
You need to be fierce if you're going to face the Orion group.
Oh, you sure do.
Definitely. Science nerd. Good to see you. Benjamin, hello. Poems and wines. Poems and wines. How nice. That's so nice.
That sounds sweet. Did anyone get a notification?
Osboy in the house. How you doing, Osboy? Good to see you. True Blue. Hello. Yeah, hopefully you guys got notification. Alternative Elements. What's up from Florida?
Six Strings in the house.
Six string sighting?
Haven't seen you. How are you, Miss Six Strings? Hello.
So good to see you. Feber May. Much love. And we are sending our prayers to Feber May as well. So many good people in the house. There's Deej. Lua B. Dave. Good to see you guys.
This is exciting.
Bitch Hopper. 812.
Oh, cool. Did get a notification. That's great.
Oh, that's awesome. We finally got a notification. Sweet. Yeah, they definitely have been censoring the videos strongly again. You know, the first channel has been, obviously demonetized. The second channel has been growing right along. And now all of a sudden, the revenue there is going backwards again, too. So they do whatever they have to inhibit the flow of information. Thank you so much, Lenora. We think you're awesome, too. It's a war. And I think that, the war really... the ones we're going to talk about now are really what we're battling is really what my gut says.
It's a lot of stuff that's very covert. It's mind games and things like this.
Kimberly's got her nuts and Merlot. She is ready to rock.
Let's do this.
Grizz says, is there a planet where the sky is reddish violet? I am sure. I would venture to say I'm sure you have all that going on. There's probably everything we could imagine out there. And when we talk about the Orion group in that area, there's Betelgeuse, which is a giant red star, which is massive. And I think in one of the links we have up, there's some cool visuals there. It's interesting. I mean, at night, my eyes always go to Orion. It's so easy to spot. And as you know, we love to watch the night sky. And, now I'm to the point, too, where I get annoyed when it's a full moon because it cuts down on the amount of stars you can see.
It does. And there's Miss Angela Green Arts. Love that video, girl.
Yeah, so you guys that haven't subscribed to Angela's Green Arts, please do. And just as it's written out there, I love it, too. Great sense of humor. She's a great girl. Oh, yeah. Deja's asking for Cindy's tuning. We could do that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we I was thinking last time, you know what? We kind of got away from that. What was up with that?
We did. I'm sorry.
We have to use our intention and use the tools.
And think of their healthiest.
Yeah, as Cindy says, think of when you felt your absolute best, your absolute most vibrant and healthiest.
Yes, hold that in your mind's eye. Like when everything was fine, there was no problems, there's no worries, everything's working well. It can be a vision from childhood, it can be a vision from a day at work or at home that just went really well, or even at a family gathering where you were really happy. I mean, any vision that's high vibe and that you had no worries and you were just so content. So find that. We'll give you a moment.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Okay, now I want you guys to take a big inhale. Inhale through your nose. And then when you exhale, imagine all the yucky energy blasting through your head, through your body, and out your feet.
Setting it down into Great Mother Earth, and she will transmute it to positive healing energy.
She sure will. Yep.
And let's just visualize loving energy surrounding all of us here in this room, and protective too. Protective energy that keeps anything that's dark, malicious, negative intent away.
Definitely. And my feet are all of a sudden tingling. How are you guys feeling?
How you guys doing out there? Yeah, Orion's interesting. It always catches your eyes, and of course the pyramids. The Great Pyramids are aligned with the belt of Orion. So when we were talking about the Orion group, if we go to Ascension Glossary, the Alpha Draconis / Orion group, and so this is, if you follow the law of one, this is kind of the source of so much contention that we see on the planet. It's truly a battle that's multi-dimensional, and it encompasses a large area.
Yeah, I mean, this is something because it says the Draconis and Orion. It's something that I haven't really gotten into, but it scares me a little.
Well, it's understandable. So, the direction of life force collected through the NRG grids is a hierarchical and managed by the Alpha Draconis system in the Orion constellation. However, multiple conflicts exist within the system, and the fight for its resources exists among many species. The reptilian and draconian levels of contingents. There is a vast system of bottom feeders and defectors. So it goes on to say the Orion group is what we would call a satanic force. And again, Satan means the adversary, and for the most part, these guys are not really our friends. And we'll go through what it's comprised of, or who they are. They're very predatorial, and that's the ideology that they use. And in reality, the system that we have is really their system. You see, it uses females as slaves or breeders while seeking territorial dominion from other planets within their warring and killing culture. Their position in the NAA, in its consortium of negative aliens, is called the Black Sun Program. They are a predator force with a predator mind, which is mainly responsible for creating much of the negative ego in humanity through mind control programming, and we know all about that. And they have introduced financial and debt enslavement to planet Earth through the banking cartels. It's their system that we have. This is the system that we are in, the system that is so broken. And it's so obvious that the system does not have a love for the planet or any of the life on the planet. I mean, it's just blatantly obvious that those in charge look at this completely as just an asset to be used and abused.
They do. I mean, we have to recognize that too, as human beings, understand where we stand with these people and know that they're not looking out for our best interests. So it kind of leaves it on ourselves to do what we know is right for us.
Additionally, the Nordics, and we've heard of them, are blonde-looking humans from Orion, and they're also predatorial. This species is responsible for spreading racism, genetic discrimination, genetic experimentation, like the Nazi ideology. And they're proponents of promoting their belief system of genetic superiority through spiritually abusive methods of eugenics. This Nordic group was directly involved with Hitler's Germany in World War II. And that's why they had such advanced technology, and that's why they had the Nazi bells. Draco species are potentially capable of shape-shifting, have extremely developed psionic abilities, which allow them to possess or enter bodies through consciousness projection. Therefore, as they originate from a phantom matrix system of satanic-based AI-infected entities, Many of these Draco entities are confused by people as the devil, or believing they are Satan as in an individual figure, but it's a type of being. It's a race of beings. And the reptilian hierarchy, extraterrestrials that are hybridized with reptilian-based genetics operate in strict hierarchical systems of rank and defer to their superior groups. This is where the kingship from on high part, is easy to see. The Dracos or Draconians from Alpha Draconis are in command of Earth-based subterranean reptiles who respect their superiors in the belief system that the Dracs are those that hold ownership over Earth and human beings. Draco reptilians view themselves as the most intelligent species in the universe and that humans are the result of their biological seeding processes from multiple planets. The Alpha Draconis Draco have a royal class that appears to be lighter colors, white-skinned scales, with winged appendages, and are about 2 to 3 times the size of an average human and extremely muscular. Quite menacing and tyrannical, showing little mercy to an entity of their own race that they think has defied their orders or responsibilities to manage their earthly resources. Earth-based reptilians appear to be in command over EBE, or biological entities known as small grays, and then there's also the taller grays, which are in control of the small grays. The reptilians have developed psionic abilities, which they use for mind-controlling other entities and do not have an emotional body or soul body. The known reptilian races on Earth appear to have made a variety of cooperative agreements with higher ranks of human government and military, which have resulted in shadow government black projects such as secret space programs, MyLabs, and the creation of the military-industrial complex to experiment and exploit alien-based technologies and craft that they've been given access through cooperation. Dracs are extremely militant, misogynistic, and warring species that are very involved in controlling the power elites, the financial, pharmaceutical, and banking institutions, promoting war and killing through increased militarization, poverty consciousness, human enslavement programming, religious violence, terrorism, and the harvesting of humanity's DNA through abduction and experimentation, as well as other species they have under their control. So the Galactic Wars, the main battles in human galactic history were fought in the constellation of Orion, and so these many wars are referred to as the Orion Wars. In our universal time matrix, the wars started over territories in the constellation of Lyra, the cradle of Lyra. But soon, the Lyran Wars spread to the constellation of Orion, and it became a war between the false king of tyranny mindsets and the ideologies with ideology of service to others, which follow the law of one. Essentially, this is the seed of the war over consciousness between the Christ and the Antichrist, if we want to use those terms. So, prison planet, many people have come up to this conclusion. The guardian host has revealed the alien machinery and nets that are used for consciousness wiping all planetary inhabitants, bringing attention to the false light used in the false ascension matrix, as well as the repeated recycling of souls that are rooted into the consciousness traps that make the Earth a prison planet. During the ascension cycle, the Crystal Star Guardians are essentially on a rescue mission to help the planet ascend and liberate the souls on Earth from mind control. And so they've tricked us in so many ways. They even get us to ask for them to take our soul. And, it's one of the things where we can't give our power away. We cannot give our power away. We have to guard against giving our power away and recognize what we're doing and who we really are serving when we have certain mindsets. So Morane continues, the Draconians are the oldest reptilian race in our universe. Their forefathers came to our universe from another separate universe or reality system. When this occurred, nobody really knows. The Draconians themselves are not really clear on when they got here. The Draconians teach their masses that they were here in this universe first, before humans, and as such they are heirs to the universe and should be considered royalty. They find disgust in the fact that humans do not recognize this as a truth. They have conquered many star systems and have genetically altered many of the life forms that they have encountered. The area of the galaxy most densely populated with Draconian subraces is in the Orion system, which is a huge system, and the systems of Rigel and Capella. The mindset or consciousness of the majority of the races in these systems is service to self, and as such they are always invading, subverting, and manipulating less advanced races, and using their technology for control and dominion. This is a very old and ancient war, and the peace that does not exist is always being tested by these beings who believe that fear rules, and love is weak. They believe that those they perceive to be less fortunate in comparison to them are meant to be slaves. This belief system is promoted at birth in the reptilian races, wherein the mother after birth will abandon the offspring to fend for themselves. If they survive, they are cared for by a warrior class that uses these children for games of combat and amusement. So you can see that reptilians are forever stuck in survival mode. This means they have no boundaries in what they will do to other beings. It is ingrained in Draconian hierarchies to teach them to never trust a human. They are taught the Draconian version of the history of the Great Galactic War, which teaches that humans are at fault for invading the universe and that humans selfishly wanted the Draconian society to starve and struggle for the basic materials that would allow them to exist. So Black Sun DNA, the Draconian Orion group, are also referred to as Black Suns. From their DNA genetic lineage, Black Suns have reversed their DNA from eons of inciting warring aggression in the universal timelines to a reversed 10 DNA strand, reverse 10D, and running a reversal life current which they use the Iron Gate to feed off. This is why they perpetuate the reversal 10D current on planet through the area they have control of in the Middle East, Iran, and Iraq. They are only capable to exist in three-dimensional consciousness while in their body, and yet they have access to 10 dimensions. They cannot cellularly transmute their body out of stargates easily and use humans to do that. They access limited levels of biological immortality through vampirism and siphoning of other living things, such as the planet Earth. So the Orion group directly promotes the basis of collective misogyny, hatred, and sexual objectification on the planet, of which many women may feel on this earth is the debasing of all of their potential to hold true, balanced female Christos Sophia aspect. Also, males must learn to worship their own inner Christos Sophia as a unified part of God, and this is challenging for many males to accomplish on Earth with the archonic deception behavior strategies, which use mind control that radically impacts both genders in sexual misery, to destroy the potential of running the magnetic sound frequency of Sophia. We have had dramas which are being used to set up to replay the Holocaust of the Christ Templar timelines. These timelines were important events to destroy Christos Sophia and turn her negative form into Baphomet, the dark satanic mother buried in the bowels of the earth. This has created a Nubian black heart and many satanic networks in the planetary body. To be able to understand the sociopathic sick mind of the archonic deception systems, one would need to better understand the general attitude of a AD-infected human or non-human as having little to no remorse or empathy. If a technologically advanced extra-dimensional race has decided to implement a gradual takeover of a planet and its inhabitants, what kind of strategy would it use? First, they would look to how they could maximize the efficiency of the invasion process and reduce the expenditure of resources that they have to generate themselves. To achieve this goal, the secretive infiltration of the core societal organization structures, such as religions, medical, financial, legal systems, would be ideal to shape the value systems that generate reality belief systems they want to control. Through the engineering of a labyrinth of self-enforced enslavement policies based on fear and intimidation amongst the Earth inhabitants, they would achieve the use of minimal off-planet resources by piggybacking on the Earth human resources. The people on Earth would effectively enforce their own enslavement, as well as enslave their own global human family by giving up their rights and resources, which we're always doing, giving our power away. This is a very effective for takeover and invasion with minimal resistance or revolt by inhabitants who are unaware they are being invaded. And so this is called the Archonic Deception Strategy. So the main groups of negative aliens, the Anunnaki, Draconians, Zetas, and Necronomitons that source out the Phantom Matrix spaces in the parallel systems, formed alliances with the quote-unquote fallen angelic Anunnaki groups to take over the Earth, which are referred to as the NAA. These groups use technology to open wormholes that were blended together to create the power required to attempt to pull the Earth body into the black hole system, leading to the Phantom Matrix where they exist, and then could gain total control over the planet and humanity. And so these are called the Black Suns or Black Sun Agenda, and the Reptile Insectoid Collective. And it gets into some different types. Interesting stuff, guys. What do you guys make of all that? And I'm going to give Cindy the mic after reading all that.
Yeah, I mean, it does explain a lot and makes some sense to this crazy world that we live in and these societies that, we have to sustain ourselves in. I mean, it brings a little bit of clarity. I mean, at least if we were to look at it through that lens, things start making a little more sense. Then, they make a lot more sense. But what I'm curious about is, why would they put all the information out there for us? That makes me a little bit.
Well, this is all coming from multiple sources and being basically channeled, and what people are getting from people that have been abducted, things like that. There's a lot of contact with the benevolence, because the thing is that the Orion group, for as powerful as they are, these negative ETs, they can only go so high, and then they're stuck. They're trapped because of their own ways. Their vibrations are not the highest. And we'll get into the law 1-2 to talk about that. So, the path that they're on is a dead end. It's a total dead end. And whereas if we're in service to others, and, if we're talking about like the Confederation of Planets, things like that, things like the benevolent groups, they could go higher up, and, they could get to a much higher level and much higher vibration, because, they're truly cultivating source that's within. So these dark groups, they could dominate the lower vibrational spheres. And they do. And this is a huge galactic war that's been ongoing for a long, long time. And when we look at something like the Bible, we see it's been just so twisted and corrupted to, and this is how they operate. It's to stir confusion. It's to divide us. Come, let us go down there. Look at humanity's united. We can't have this. Let's get down there and let's scare them, confuse them. It's right in the Bible, and there's no way you could explain that and say God's a benevolent God. It's because there's multiple gods in the Bible. There's more than one they're talking about, and the gods that are mostly being talked about are gods with a little g. It's these beings, that's who they are. Whereas like when Christ is talking about, the true source, he's talking about something very, very different than these entities.
It is. And Michael and I were talking earlier today about, God being a jealous God. And it states that in the Bible. And, everybody would say, well, yeah, it is in the Bible. But why would the source of everything be jealous and insecure? It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense unless it's one of these beings.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. And then also giving our power away to them and asking for them to rule. Yeah. Recognize that. And it hit me years ago, and I as I shared with you guys, I was looking at the day of the Lord and thinking, oh my God, the only way this plays out and makes any sense to me is if we're talking alien invasion. It was the only way it made sense. And it hit me when I was in my 20s, early 20s, and it does. And when you even look at Revelation again, The ultimate outcome, everybody gets branded. It just depends on what brand you want, which god's brand. And recognized in the Anunnaki tradition, every city-state was run by a different god. And they were at war with each other all the time. They were always competing for resources. The humans fought proxy wars for these gods. We have proxy wars going on right now. If we look at Yemen, there's the proxy war going on right now. There's always proxy wars. It's the same system. It's the Draconian system is what it is.
Exactly. And there's the thing about it is they have us humans tattling on each other. They have us to that point where they don't have to do any work anymore. We do it ourselves. There's people growing gardens in the city and then other people coming along and tattling. So they might get a ticket or they might get fined. So they've done this like really, really smart. But I have a feeling it's not their first rodeo either.
Oh, no. They have this totally down. So, like when you say, how could God be jealous? And it's even written, I am a jealous God. And it's not like I am the, one of many. So, but then when you read Deuteronomy 32:8, it gives you that picture, because God sits at the council of the gods, just like what we envision from the other cultures as well. So, we could see how everything's been totally hijacked. And this is what's really going on. And these beings, they have us giving away our power, asking them to rule us. We're, literally, they're getting us to ask. And they show us every move they make. They do. It's all right out there. It's all laid out there, every move. And then I'm not surprised when I see stuff happen. I think a lot of people are waking up like that too, and recognizing now that everything is very much one big script that's just playing out.
They are, and they're waking up and they're confused and they don't know, what has happened and what's real, what's fake, what's truth, what's a lie. And right now, the best advice that I can give is to really go within and follow your heart. Ask yourself, what do you love? What feels true? What rings true? But then after that, also remain flexible for things to change, because what's your truth might not be the next person's truth. So, and then what is truth? So there's a whole lot of stuff to be sorted through, but most of all, just leave your heart open.
Anna says we went twice off the air. I don't doubt it, because this is the ultimate truth, and boy, they don't want us claiming our power. And as we said before, there are benevolent beings, and we've heard of the Pleiadians, and we've heard of others, from like Andromeda, Arcturians. There's quite a few. There's Syrians out there as well. There's a lot of benevolent beings, and in fact, the law of one says the benevolent ones outnumber the malevolent ones 10-1. So, but the thing is that the benevolent ones respect free will, so they'll never impose their will. But if you think about the Draco controlling the military-industrial complex and all those satellites going up in the sky, the Space Force, the need for a Space Force, we're going to have to fight wars in space. Why? Well, because they're anticipating the benevolent ones helping us. All the prophecies, too, say that after all these things are done, the great earth changes, the wars, everything like that, then the benevolent ones come and they try to, help us set things straight and get us living in harmony again with nature and each other. So that's beautiful.
And Calvin says, our higher mind doesn't even know what fear is. I couldn't agree more. Oh my gosh, I totally couldn't agree more. But here's the thing. They have turned a lot of us into having a lot of fear through traumas, through pain, through all kinds of stuff. Even surgery can cause trauma and on the body and kind of mess with the brain and give you that PTSD where you can take any situation and ultimately you're going to run it down the most scariest road because it actually changes your brain. And there's a fix for that, but some people, it might take years, and you have to force those thoughts back uphill into the higher mind. And believe me, I've never found that to be comfortable, but it's doable.
Yeah, so I got links for you guys. Now this is all about the Law of One from the Law of One Society. And then this right here, just did a search on every time the Orion group was mentioned in the Law of One. And it's fascinating stuff. And then there's a Law of One study guide too. And I've been through the Law of One from start to finish 3 full times. And then I picked it apart afterwards, going into different parts of it and looking into it. I feel there's a lot of real good truth in there, and it just it seems to resonate. So, like they were asked, and so again, for those that aren't familiar with the Law of One, it's a channeled. It was a group that did channeling of an entity called Ra, and now we know Ra is the sun god in Egypt. And, he actually says, well, you can't even call him he, it's a collective. So as we go up and through the densities, we become more of a hive mind. The individuals are still there, but we are in resonance. We are achieving a unity consciousness, which obviously we don't have on this world. And that's something the Draco will never have because they're just incapable of it.
Right. There's got to be something there that prevents them from doing that. And one thing I've always kind of wondered, I know we have this reptilian brain in our heads, but do other animals have a reptilian brain?
I've looked into that and I didn't see where any others did. So, I mean, it's supposed to be an evolutionary thing. But yeah, as we know, see, this is the thing. It's like we're put into camps. Are you a creationist or are you an evolutionist? Well, what do we have on Earth? I think we have both. Yeah. We have, intervention and changing things by, entities with the technology. And then we have a natural, way things progress as well. So we have both. And it's like, but we're automatically made to think, well, it's either or. And before, when I've talked about, how capitalism can be just so ruthless, brutal, and cruel, and really drive our ego and our greed, and we see that with the disparity going on between the haves and have-nots, then automatically people are saying, well, you're a Stalinist, a Marxist, a communist, and it's like, well, can't there be something different? I mean, you think it's all either or. It's just like, well, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. Of course I'm going to vote for a Republican. Well, isn't there anybody else out there? Aren't there some independents you could look at? But this is the whole thing. This is the duality they want us thinking in constantly. They don't want us to think, above and outside of the box at all.
No, they don't. So they give us our choices. Here's this, and here's this. And when it seems like now that we're all starting to smarten up and wake up, they're getting a little bit concerned. And that's obvious from the things that are going on, but still, I mean, we still have a way out. There's always a way out. We're extremely intelligent beings, and they teach us such limited information. But if we just listen to our heart, listen to our DNA, there's always a way out.
So D. Jackson says, will we be able to fight them when they come? They're here already. I mean, they've been here. They've been here for a long time. They are only able to operate on a 3D and a limited basis, but they are able to manipulate us. And the ones that rule this show are their servants when you get down to it. So, they use us to control, regulate, and keep the herd of humans in the mindset that they want. and under their control by using other humans. Look at how the Roman Empire worked too. Look at how it conquered areas, but then they would become part of the Roman Empire. That's exactly the Draco way they do things. And so they get us to police ourselves.
They do. And Linda says, how can you heal the polarity? My answer to that is to allow other people to be where they're at. If you can, meet them where they're at. But I guess that's where Source is experiencing Source. And it's just going to play itself out, if I understood your question right. That's what I think.
I just wanted to say, I'm going to let it go. I don't want to get this channel in too much trouble. But yeah, so they do use us to police ourselves. They do. And so when you look at an example of, a perfect example of somebody that's following their ideology was the one called Adolf Hitler, and so what we have now, unfortunately, looks like the rebirth, the birth of the fourth global Reich now. That's going on right now. This is part of a big play. And again, it's about us patrolling and controlling, it's about the leadership controlling humanity for them. And so this war is going on in different dimensions as well. And this is very interesting. Okay, so the question is, what is the density of the Orion group? What density are they? Because we are right now, we've been on 3D. When we sleep, we're on 4D. We're going into 4D when we're awake, and that's where we're heading. And so then above that, you have 5D, which is an even more expanded consciousness, and then 6D, which is even higher, right, up the food chain. So a very few third density. So most of the Orion group is not third density. So they're able to influence us, and this is where we get the spiritual warfare from. Because there's very few of them that have physical bodies just like us. Some do, but not that many. Now, a larger number of fourth density. In other words, where we are, where we sleep, when we sleep, is where they are, and also where we're heading. So, the war's not really over. This war is going to keep going on for a while. It's a very big war. And then a similarly large number of fifth density. So these beings, they are service to self. They are very negative. They are pretty powerful when you get down to it. They understand how to manipulate reality, how to do things that would appear to be magical with their technologies. And then a very few sixth density entities comprising this organization. So they're mostly on the fourth and the fifth, and very few on the sixth, because they can't hold that high a vibration, and then they're just basically stuck. So that's how their makeup is. Their numbers are perhaps 1/10 of ours, and ours is, he's talking about the Confederation of Planets. So the good guys, they're only about 10% at any point in space-time continuum, as the problem of spiritual entropy causes them to experience constant disintegration of their social memory complexes. Their power is the same as ours. So the law of one blinks neither at the light or the darkness, but is available for service to others and service to self. However, service to others results in service to self, thus preserving and further harmonizing the distortions of those entities seeking intelligent infinity through these disciplines. And intelligent infinity, he's kind of equating to source, prime creator, God with the big G. Those seeking intelligent infinity through the use of service to self create the same amount of power, but as we said, have constant difficulty because of the concept of separation, which is implicit in the manifestations of service to self, which involves power over others. So, there's a limiting effect on there. There's only so far you could go before it starts to fall apart. This weakens and eventually disintegrates the energy collected by such mind-body-spirit complexes, who call the Orion group, and the social memory complexes which comprise the Orion group. It should be noted, carefully pondered, and accepted that the law of one is available to any social memory complex, which has decided to strive together for seeking of a purpose, be it service to others or service to self. So this is really a free will universe. That's the bottom line. This is a free will universe, and that's why we see what we have, going on here. It's because, being a free will universe, there are those that will try to dominate. So the laws, which are a primal distortion of the law of one, then are placed into operation, and the illusion of space-time is used as a medium for development of the results of those choices freely made. Thus, all entities learn no matter what they seek. All learn the same, some rapidly, some slowly. So this is all about learning and discovering. That's the whole purpose of life in general.
Yeah, we do have that. We do have the option to learn and discover and enjoy the journey, enjoy the journey. There's a lot of things that we can do to make things a lot better. And I think that's where the free will needs to come in, and we understand that we don't have to be so chained down in our own brain with a single belief system. No, there's many belief systems, and there's a reason why they've been kept secret, because they would empower us and we would be able to take control of our own lives because we would learn certain things.
And so Anna's touching on something that's very touchy but very true. We are their drug source and or their blood and fear that it produces. A high. Yeah, they are drug addicts, exactly. And you guys know the word starts with A, it's a very nasty thing to talk about, but it's very, very true, So, there is a Luciferian agenda in that sense. And everything's been so twisted because it's just so twisted because Lucifer means light bringer, right? And, Satan means adversary. And then we look at the Draco and the dragons, and the symbology is all there. And it says ascension will occur very swift. Yeah, Julio says when we all wake up, then there'll be the start of a new era, no fear. Yeah, if we could control our fear and recognize that we have power, and again, say we do not consent, because recognize that, again, very few of them have 3D bodies, right? So in a way, yeah, it is satanic possession that's going on. It is real, and our leaders are under their control. Our leaders don't have our best interests. Our leaders, they're shepherds, but they're shepherds in the sense of they know that they willfully lead their sheep to slaughter. So it's not a benevolent shepherd that we have here on this planet.
No, but they sure make it look like a benevolent shepherd, because they put all these bells and whistles and these beautiful trinkets and they jingle them in front of our face, these new cars, these beautiful houses, and these choices and stuff of a job that pays, a gazillion dollars a year. But again, they're all given to us by something else. They're not necessarily free choices.
Yeah, Nuke said the word, so I didn't say it. Nuke said it. I didn't say it. Okay. But it's true, and so Joseph asks, how much of the Earth's population does Ra say will harvest to 4D? Unfortunately, not a very large number. And we could go into the harvest aspect of it as well. Way back, this was written in the 80s. What was the number? I'm trying to think of the whole population of the Earth then. I think it was something, I'm going to have to look at that again. I want to say something like, was it 35 million?
40 came to my mind.
35? Why does 35 come to mind? Let me see if I could look it up real quick.
Look it up. Let's see. So that's Cap says, since the service to self path will always potentially fall apart, is it even worth trying to go that path? service to self can lead to service to others. Like, well, the way I look at it anyway is if I take care of myself and I eat good food and I exercise, and I spend the time to do the self-care, then I'm going to be able to help more people. Whatever comes after me is going to be like first class. So in that aspect of it, absolutely, I believe service to self is critical so that those around you and those near you will be well cared for, because they're going to look at how you're doing it and you're the example. So I hope that helps. Aw, Miss Kimberly, thank you. She says, you guys make me want to keep going on and fighting. Thank you, Miss Kimberly. You guys help us too. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here either. So each and every one of you is extremely important. Yeah. That's just, it's wonderful. We got so many wonderful familiar. I love to see the familiar and the new faces. You know, the new people that's where it's at. That's where it's most important, you know, but I love seeing the familiar faces. That makes it more homey.
So yeah, there's a ton of stuff on this. I will look it up, and that would be a good subject to get into for a completely other video. But unfortunately, if you're talking percentage of the population, you're talking very small, like less than 10% when you get down to it. So what's going to happen, and thank you, Miss Kimberly, we love you. So what's going to happen is most people are going to redo third density and, and on a different planet, either through, Ross says, yeah, you really get the impression that some are going to be taken by ships.
You know, and that could happen too. And there is break out of the prison planet. Hello. Oh, we love you. I love you too. I love you guys too. This is like a really high vibe night. It's wonderful. So wonderful and beautiful and fantastic.
So, it's just like when you guys see the Nicolas Cage movie, Knowing. That was it, Knowing. These beings are like light beings, and they take some kids away and plant them on other planets.
And that's kind of a story that I'm super curious about, as Michael is getting his throat chakra is totally being attacked. It kind of things that make you go, he's trying to give us this information, and yeah, they're getting him. So he has to go drink some water. And Elena says, my grandmother would say, take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's so true. And a lot of us have to learn that the hard way too. That's a difficult one because, it just seems right. Well, if you get everybody taken care of, then you can have that wonderful bath, or you can spend some time on yourself. If only everybody's just completely taken care of, you'll have all that time. But guess what? Everybody always has an issue. So it's better to just put yourself first and take the time for you, because I promise you things will start coming in order and they'll get better.
So you get the impression that there's probably going to be a big percentage of people that pass on because of the Earth changes and everything that's going on the planet. And they'll reincarnate on a different planet that's still 3D. And then there's going to be some that perhaps are actually literally are taken up in ships and taken to other places. And that's like a whole other story as well. Like if you listen to Phil Schneider, which I don't even like saying his name because... he met with such a horrible end, and he was talking all about this stuff. And, there was several attempts on his life, and then finally one that, worked. And so he's no longer with us. But there is a galactic slave trade, so it can be Before we came on, it was just hitting me to serve man. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember that old? Gosh, was it? It was either the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits, and there was an episode To Serve Man. Anybody remember that one? You know, ultimately, like aliens come and they want to take humans. They ask for volunteer humans to take back to their planet to show them their high technology, their wonderful civilization. And then everybody wants to go. And they got all these people volunteering. And so, they take some people away, and then they fast forward and you see they're trying to feed the humans a lot to get them nice and plump and fat because they plan on serving the humans for dinner.
Oh my gosh. And that's just absolutely horrible. And then there's people who try to get the truth out there, and we're painted things like crazy, schizophrenic, all kinds of wonderful vocabulary words. And even some of us are put into hospitals and whatnot because we're trying to actually tell people the truth. But it sounds so outlandish because of the conditioning that we get in trouble, or we get laughed at, or we get criticized, or we get stomped on. And it's just this never ending battle. But you know what? We're starting to get a hold of things. People are joining us. They're understanding, they're seeing, they're listening, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it gets into a lot of stuff. Like in this 3D world, the typical human soul will be here for about 75,000 years and go through numerous incarnations. And then when we go into fourth density, it's going to be more like 40 million years. So a much longer time period than it is now. But then the average lifespan is going to be thousands of years. So very, very different as well. It's fascinating stuff. As a lot of you guys remember the Twilight Zone. That was, classic stuff. Classic stuff. Great old shows. So it's all about learning. It really is, and so the law of one. I mean, the ultimate reality is we are all one. And this is what the ultimate truth is in Buddhism, in Hinduism, in Jainism, and we could go all the way on down in the Western mystery traditions, in Gnosticism. I mean, it's the great truth from pretty much everywhere you look is that, there's this underlying unity. We are ultimately one. And we are source, experiencing source's creation through an infinite possibility of different perspectives.
We are, and that's a really beautiful thing. And I think these are the things that should be taught from kindergarten, like the different religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, all the isms, let's just teach our children the truth instead of making them like little batteries for the elites to go do service in their system.
Well, again, it's because of the power structure and the fact that it is a draconian power structure. So that is what we have. And so, this Orion group, it's all about conquest with them. It's all about conquest, and they're very warlike. And so, it's obvious that this is the culture that we've been given, and it's been here for a long time. Today we have the UFC, and I know Nuke is, waiting to win back some of his money there from some bets, which, hey, I didn't start that. And it's just, $1 here, $1 there. More bragging rights. But, the UFC is the modern version of the Roman games, right? And the gladiators just fought to the death, with each other against lions and, other creatures, bears, anything they could bring in just for entertainment value. And that's exactly the Orion group's culture, the Draconian culture. It's a warrior culture. And it's not a peaceful culture. And some souls, will perhaps have reincarnated from here and will reincarnate over there. And so, like this question over here, 1113, who went to the Orion group? The one known as Genghis Khan. So, again, we could have had multiple lives as a human here, and then perhaps incarnate over there as well. And it's interesting, like in the story of the Buddha, he was on a different planet, totally, in a different star system, and he heard the crying of humans and the suffering of humans, so he willingly gave up his body in order to come and incarnate over here in order to teach us. And there's so many quote-unquote ascended masters that do that very thing. And so in this, in the Law of One, they talk about the one that's known as the Christ being a wanderer or a starseed that came in for that very purpose. And that was his purpose, was, again, to try to get us back on track, as we've had so many entities like that over the millennia that have done that.
Exactly. And the first thing that's really super important, though, is that we got to learn what has happened to us. we need to know the truth, and you need to know where we come from, because when you know where you come from, you are going to know more about where you can go. That's like super, super important, to know our history, our true history. And they've spent lifetimes in telling us, or giving us, our history. That is, like, spoon feeding it to us. And that's one way to keep us controlled.
Most definitely. So, we are at a period right now that's getting to be a critical junction, and we have to wake up as many as possible to everything that's going on and strive. And really, for one, we have to demand and take control of our own freedom. And, because you guys can see where everything's going. It's pretty obvious where things are going. We know, I think most people now, I mean, I wonder what the real percentage is, but I feel like people are waking up in droves. There's an awful lot of suspicious people right now with everything that's going on in the world. I wonder, do you think more than 50% are suspicious of what's going on in the world on the big scheme?
I'm going to say it's probably around 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, right around there.
It's getting there, though. And Christine says, so past life regression should be looked at. Sure. You could learn from it. As, I find that for me, it's verified some things that I always felt. And that then helps you understand where you've been and what your purpose is and where you're going. Knowing your purpose is really, it's so key. What is your true purpose in this life? How many of you guys really feel like you know what your real true purpose is? My family never had a lot of money, and we always rented, never owned our own house. So, the only purpose I had, because often we had to pack up and move, we got to move, because something happened. We had one landlord that didn't pay his mortgage, and then the house got repoed underneath us while we were paying him. He just wasn't paying his mortgage. So, then we got booted out. So I just didn't want that to happen. So, I worked my butt off, and I started working when I was like 12, maybe even, I'd say 12, doing different things. And, I bought a car at 15 before I had a driver's license. And then, I got my first house at like 21, and then felt totally empty, totally empty and disenchanted with the whole thing. Because I just wanted to own my own house because my parents never did. Then when I did it, I realized it's not really that important to me. Why do I feel so empty, Because, that was when I started to go even deeper inside. And that was when I also shifted completely from being more going to church and Bible-based to looking into all different alternative systems again. I had looked into them at 13, 14, 15, 16. I've always been this way. But then I started to look in earnest, and then that put me on the spiritual path. And it's changed my life, because now I know that I recognize the system for what it is. So I just can't stand the system, and it's all about tearing it up, because the system is run and given to us by these dark entities, and they're using it to control us. And they're using it to have us police ourselves and create chaos, destruction, and that word that begins with an A that Nuke had spelled out before.
Yeah, exactly. And Linda says, funny how no one seemed phased by the confirmation disclosure. Exactly, I know. It's because of the way things are set up, because so many of us are chasing that dream. And if we're not chasing the dream, we're trying to scrape pennies together to pay the rent, to pay the bills, to pay this, to buy food. And people are tired. They're exhausted. It's not until they truly, truly, truly get a whiff of, hey, that stinks. Something's really, really, really seriously wrong here. And they have to make life changes. Then they start the searching like we did. But it's deliberately set up to keep us from having the time to look around.
Yep, most definitely. That's what's really going on. It's control. Anna's talking about lucid dreaming, and Grizz has been talking about his dreams are exhausting him because he's in battles. It does feel now like we never really sleep in some sense. I mean, it's just the dreams do feel a little bit more exhausting. It almost is more like we're still awake. Are you guys getting that? Because I mean, I'm feeling that too. They're extremely vivid. And, think about it. If we're going up to 4D when we're awake, and 4D is where we are when we sleep, thus, like the Australian Aboriginals say, we're returning to dream time.
Yeah, we're returning to dream time. And, that's when our dreams definitely start feeling more and more real. And yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful world. It's super curious, and the fact that we do have choice. I mean, I really wish there was a way to wake up more people, but it's a self-paced thing. People are going to do it when they're darn good and ready, when they have that disaster or that life-changing thing and they realize something's just not right. My very dear friend of like 25 years, Susan, it unfortunately, it took her to pass away from being in the system, and the doctors, just lording over her, giving her tons of medication. And here I was taking her to the doctors thinking that I was doing the right thing, because after all, they're professionals, right? I mean, I thought I was doing the right thing, and it ended up she it killed her. At least that's what I blame it on. I blame it on all the medications that they had her on, trying to keep her alive. And so that's when I woke up and realized, okay, there's something seriously wrong with this system. I need to take a closer look.
There were benevolent beings that were right here on the planet, and at one time fighting alongside humans against these beings, and then unfortunately, they left, and I don't know where this came from, but I don't even know if it was in my dream last night, but the Pleiadians, as well as others, such as, like we were talking about the Arcturians, they've helped us. Like when we look at Rama, for instance, Rama's an incarnation of Vishnu, but Rama also was an inner earth being, and he came to the surface because of all the asuras that were basically landing here in their Vimanas and taking over the planet and ruling humans and being abusive and destructive. So Rama lived inside the earth in one of the inner earth kingdoms, and he came out to fight them. And we have the Ramayana. And Vishnu ended up going back to his planet. I'm sorry, not Vishnu, Krishna, who is the next incarnation of Vishnu after Rama. He ended up leaving and going back to his planet at the end of his story. And when he did that, that was the beginning of the Kali Yuga, because they left. Unfortunately, they left. But what came to me last night was that they left because they were getting invaded over in their own area. So, we are kind of like out in the outskirts of our galaxy here. And then this war is raging. So, they were actually leaving to go defend their homes, and the war was going closer to them. So that's why they left. If you look at Genesis 6, it just, you know there's stuff missing. And of course, we have the book of Enoch that fills a lot of that in. But again, I feel things are twisted to a degree. Everything is twisted. So, the mighty men of old, heroes, men of renown, and then the next thing is the flood because there's so much evil. There's something that doesn't add up there, So these beings were here. They were fighting with us. They were definitely helping us in a more tangible way. But unfortunately, like when Krishna left, that's the beginning of the Kali Yuga. It's the beginning of the Dark Age. And it's been all Draco control, since then.
Mm-hmm. And they've been telling me too lately that we're getting more light in our bodies, and it is going to make us feel more aches, more pains. We're going to be purging. We're going to be having mood swings. We're going to be having sleepless nights. So I just remembered that now, and that's why I think a lot of people are having trouble sleeping. In the chat, it's because we're getting more light in our light bodies, and sometimes it's not very comfortable. It can be a little difficult.
Most definitely. So it's a fascinating subject. So we've gone about an hour and 7. I think we're going to close this one at this. We still have a few things to do on the homestead, and there's so much more to talk about. I want to continue with this topic and other topics going in depth. There's so much we didn't we didn't get to yet, but we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll come back tomorrow about the same time. I think we should be good, right? And then and we'll kind of continue this discussion because there's so much here. So guys, we love you. Thank you so much for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon, and always take heart, because every night, almost any night, you could see, like last night we saw a whole bunch of their ships.
Yeah.
And we saw a bunch of them last night. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of them out last night. And Grizz says, guys, I'm feeling like I'm being recharged by the love here. Absolutely, you guys. Absorb that love from each other. This is energy, and it is quantum. So if we all put the intention out to help lighten one another, that's exactly what's going to happen. And thank you so much, everybody, for having such a wonderful, beautiful, charged healing chat. God bless and namaste.
God bless, guys. Namaste.